Have you ever imagined being humiliated in public just because of your skin color? Now imagine that happening while you're trying to buy a gift for someone you love. That's exactly what happened to Marcus, a 16-year-old who only wanted to surprise his mother. He walked into an upscale jewelry store without the slightest idea that he'd soon be escorted out by police officers. But one small detail changed everything and made his accuser regret it deeply. Pay close attention to this story because the lesson it teaches is powerful. Marcus Jordan strolled through the glossy corridors of a high-end shopping center in Manhattan. The air conditioning provided a cool contrast to the summer heat outside, while the polished storefronts of luxury brands shimmered beneath the bright overhead lights. Well-dressed shoppers moved quickly, some with branded bags in hand, others just browsing. But Marcus had a mission. In his pocket, he gripped his debit card tightly. He'd been saving for months, taking on part-time jobs after school, skipping outings, and budgeting carefully for this one moment. He wanted to buy a ring for his mom, Denise Jordan, a resilient woman who had sacrificed everything to give him a better life. Her birthday was just a few days away, and Marcus wanted her to feel cherished. No expensive gift could ever repay what she'd done for him, but this was his way of showing love. He paused in front of a sleek boutique with a gold-lettered name etched into the glass. Behind the spotless windows, sparkling rings and necklaces seemed to glow with elegance. Taking a deep breath, he stepped inside. The sound of his sneakers echoed against the glossy marble floor. The store was eerily quiet. No other customers, just a single saleswoman in her late 40s, wearing a sharp navy suit and a look of stern suspicion. She stood behind the counter and glanced up, scanning him from head to toe in one long, deliberate motion. Marcus smiled politely and approached the glass display. "Good afternoon. I'm looking for a birthday gift for my mom. A ring," he said. The woman, whose name tag read Ms. Barnes, narrowed her eyes slightly, as though trying to decide if he was serious. "A diamond ring?" she asked, her voice tinged with sarcasm and disbelief. Marcus nodded. "Yes, something beautiful, something special." She tilted her head, crossing her arms and refusing to move. "And, do you have the money for that?" Marcus's smile faltered. He drew in a breath, choosing not to react to the condescension. He'd heard it before, but this was supposed to be a good day. Without speaking, he pulled the debit card from his pocket and placed it gently on the counter. Ms. Barnes looked at the card, then back at his face. A thick silence filled the space. Then, without touching the glass case, she turned away and subtly picked up the store's landline. "Hello, this is Lux Jewelers at Riverside Galleria. There's a suspicious individual here. A young black male, alone, looking at high-end merchandise. I think he might be planning something. Can you send someone right away?" She hung up without addressing Marcus, then flashed a fake smile. "Just a moment, sweetheart. I'll get a piece from the vault," she said before disappearing into the back room. Marcus remained still, unaware that his life was about to take a turn. He scanned the dazzling rings, thinking about which one would make his mother smile the most, but something didn't feel right. The store was still empty, and the saleswoman was taking unusually long to return. A chill crept up his spine. Suddenly, the front door flew open with a loud bang. Two police officers rushed in, boots stomping across the marble. Officer Daniels and Officer White, both white men wearing dark sunglasses and gripping their holsters as if they were about to face a violent suspect. Marcus turned, confused. "Hands where I can see them," Officer Daniels barked, pointing directly at him. For a split second, Marcus froze. "What?" "I said hands where I can see them," Daniels repeated, already drawing his weapon. Terrified, Marcus lifted his hands immediately. Ms. Barnes reappeared from the back, arms crossed with a smug expression, as if to say, "I knew it." "What's going on?" Marcus asked, voice trembling. The officers closed in fast. Daniels grabbed Marcus by the arm and yanked him roughly. "Quiet, we received a report that you were trying to rob the store." "What?" Marcus's eyes widened. "I'm just buying a gift for my mom." Officer White picked up the debit card that was still lying on the counter. He glanced at it, then at Marcus, and let out a mocking laugh. "This stolen?" Marcus felt a surge of fear and anger rise in his chest. "No, I earned that money. I didn't do anything wrong." But they didn't listen. Daniels spun Marcus around and slammed him against the counter while White began patting him down without an ounce of care. "You carrying a weapon?" White asked. "I'm not armed," Marcus replied, trying to keep himself from panicking. Shoppers outside the boutique started to slow down, peeking through the windows, curious about the commotion, but no one stepped in. The saleswoman, Ms. Barnes, stood idly with her arms crossed, watching as if this were routine. A lump formed in Marcus's throat. This wasn't the first time people had looked at him like this, like he didn't belong, like he was a threat. But this time was worse. This time, he was being publicly humiliated for doing absolutely nothing. Daniels opened Marcus's wallet and took out his ID, glancing at it casually until his face froze. His hand tightened around the card. White noticed. "What is it?" Daniels didn't answer right away. He swallowed hard, staring at the name on the ID again. His eyes flicked from the card to Marcus's face, then back again, and in that moment, everything shifted. The gravity of what they had just done hit him like a freight train, because right there, printed in bold letters, was the name of Marcus's mother, son of Vanessa Jordan, FBI Regional Director. A heavy silence fell over the store. The tension was suffocating. The same officers who had barked commands at him seconds earlier now stood frozen, glancing nervously at each other. Daniels held the ID like it was radioactive. "Vanessa Jordan," he muttered, a bead of sweat forming on his brow. Vanessa Jordan wasn't just anybody. She was the FBI's head in New York, a woman known for her ironclad standards, unmatched intellect, and absolute intolerance for misconduct from law enforcement. And now, these two officers had just manhandled her son. Marcus noticed the sudden shift in the room. The officers' voices were no longer commanding. "Listen, kid," Daniels said, his tone noticeably softer, trying to recalibrate. "This was just a misunderstanding." He released Marcus's arm, though Marcus's back was still pressed against the counter. "Yeah, just a mistake," White added, forcing a smile that didn't reach his eyes. But it was far too late, because outside the store, the doors of a sleek black SUV swung open. A group of sharply dressed individuals entered the mall with confident strides, earpieces in, eyes scanning, and at the center of them, walking with unmistakable authority, was Vanessa Jordan herself. Her eyes locked first on Marcus, then on the officers. Her expression was unreadable, but ice cold. The mall's security staff, recognizing her, subtly stepped aside. This woman wasn't here to talk. She stopped at the entrance of the boutique, slid her hands into the pockets of her tailored coat, and let silence settle like a storm cloud. Then, with a voice calm but sharp as broken glass, she asked, "What exactly is going on here?" The officers didn't move. The saleswoman, who had appeared so self-assured just moments before, instinctively took a step back, feeling the weight of this woman's presence. Marcus looked at his mother, feeling both a rush of relief and a rising wave of tension. He knew what was coming, and he knew no one in that room was walking away untouched. The entire atmosphere inside the boutique had shifted. Where the officers had once been in control, now it was Vanessa Jordan who commanded every breath in the room. Officers Daniels and White looked visibly uncomfortable. Ms. Barnes, the sales associate who had been so confident in calling the police, now stood stiff and silent behind the counter like a mannequin. Vanessa didn't need to raise her voice. Her mere presence was enough to silence everyone. She turned first to her son, her eyes scanning him with concern. Marcus tried to keep a straight face, but his hands still trembled slightly after the aggressive encounter. "Are you hurt?" Vanessa asked, her voice low, but every syllable razor-sharp. Marcus shook his head, swallowing hard. "No, Mom, they just treated me like a criminal, for no reason." That word, criminal, hit the room like a grenade. Vanessa slowly turned to face the officers, her eyes cold and calculating. "I'll ask this only once." Her tone was quiet, but carried the weight of a federal indictment. "Why did you approach my son the way you did?" The officers exchanged anxious glances. Daniels, who had been the loudest just minutes ago, now struggled to form coherent words. We got a call. From her." He motioned toward Ms. Barnes, trying to shift the blame away from himself. "Said there was a suspicious individual in the store." Vanessa raised an eyebrow. "Suspicious?" Daniels cleared his throat. "Yes, ma'am. A young man, alone, looking at expensive jewelry." The room fell silent for a long, heavy moment. Then Vanessa let out a soft laugh, but there was no humor in it. "Let me see if I understand this." She stepped forward, each heel clicking with sharp purpose on the marble floor. "My son walks into a jewelry store to buy a gift for his own mother, and your first conclusion is that he's a criminal." No one spoke. Officer White looked to Daniels, hoping he'd say something, anything, but Daniels was already sinking into silence. Vanessa turned to the woman behind the counter. "Ms. Barnes, is it?" The saleswoman flinched slightly, her eyes wide. Yes, that's me." "You're the one who made the call to the police?" The woman hesitated, scrambling for a believable excuse, but Vanessa already knew the answer. "Answer the question. Was it you or not?" Cold sweat formed on the back of Ms. Barnes's neck. I thought something might be happening. He was alone. And you decided he didn't belong here, right? Vanessa cut her off, arms crossed, her stare piercing. You assumed he couldn't afford anything in this store, that he was here for other reasons? That's not what I meant, the woman stammered. That's exactly what you meant. Vanessa's tone was stone. Final. Ms. Barnes swallowed hard, realizing she had nowhere to run. That's when Vanessa pulled out her phone, calmly unlocked it, and began dialing. The officers shifted uneasily. What are you doing? Daniels asked. Vanessa lifted her eyes slowly. Calling your supervisor. I'm curious to see how he'll react when he finds out two of his officers publicly humiliated the son of the FBI's New York director for absolutely no reason. The color drained from the officers' faces. Now, they were truly in trouble. A heavy silence settled over the jewelry store. Every eye was on Vanessa, who now held the phone to her ear, waiting for someone to pick up on the other end. The officers knew exactly what that meant. Officer Daniels, who had been brimming with authority earlier, now looked pale and rattled. He stepped forward, trying to salvage the situation. Director Jordan, he began, his tone stripped of any previous arrogance. Let's handle this right here, between us. No need to involve anyone else. It was a mistake. A misunderstanding. Vanessa raised an eyebrow but said nothing. On the line, a low commanding voice answered. Agent Smith, FBI, who's calling? Vanessa's eyes locked onto Daniels. Her voice was slow and deliberate. This is Vanessa Jordan, Director of the New York Field Office. I need you at Riverside Galleria immediately. We have a situation involving abuse of authority and unlawful public harassment. Daniels's face went ghost white. Officer White, desperate now, tried to interrupt. Ma'am, that's not necessary. We didn't know he was your son. Vanessa stared at him with piercing calm. Oh, so if he wasn't my son, would this have been acceptable? The two officers swallowed hard. They had no answer. Suddenly the boutique doors swung open, and 3 FBI agents stepped inside. Their posture was sharp, their faces unreadable. Director Jordan, we're here, said the lead agent, already raising a radio to call for additional personnel. The officers knew it was over. Vanessa took one final look at them and delivered her verdict. Remove these two from duty immediately. I expect a full report on my desk detailing this misconduct by the end of the day. White opened his mouth, but Daniels gently grabbed his arm and shook his head. They both knew it was done. The FBI agents escorted them out of the store, past a growing number of curious onlookers who had stopped in the mall to witness the scene. The same officers who had humiliated Marcus minutes ago were now the ones leaving, disgraced. The silence inside the store remained thick, but with the officers gone, only one person remained to be held accountable, Ms. Barnes. She stood frozen behind the counter, pale, hands clasped tightly in front of her, eyes fixed anywhere but on Vanessa Jordan. But Vanessa wasn't about to let her slide. She stepped forward, that same unblinking gaze that made even seasoned agents shift uncomfortably. Ms. Barnes, she said, her voice calm but cutting. You were the one who made the call to the police, correct? The saleswoman hesitated, but lying was useless now. Yes, but I only did it because I thought it was the right thing to do? Vanessa tilted her head, feigning curiosity. The right thing, Barnes swallowed hard, realizing her words had betrayed her. Well, he was alone, looking at expensive pieces, and she trailed off, knowing she'd already said too much. Vanessa folded her arms, not even bothering to hide her disdain. Did you ask him if he could afford it? Did you try, even once, to treat him like a regular customer? Barnes opened her mouth, but no sound came out. At that moment, a tall man in a tailored suit entered the store. His face was flushed with anger. Director Jordan, he said. I'm Andrew Collins, the manager of this store. His eyes flicked to Ms. Barnes with obvious fury. I've just reviewed the security footage. Ms. Barnes looked like she might collapse. I was just doing what I thought was best. For the store's safety. Collins exhaled slowly, clearly trying to control his temper. Best for the store? He repeated. You humiliated a paying customer, called the police without cause, and dragged our reputation through the mud. He paused, then delivered the final blow. You're fired. Ms. Barnes froze in place. What? You can't do that. I absolutely can, the manager replied, now out of patience. Gather your things and leave, now. Her face flushed red with humiliation and fury, but there was nothing she could do. She cast one final glance at Vanessa, as if hoping for some mercy. But Vanessa Jordan's expression remained unmoved. Ms. Barnes lowered her head, grabbed her handbag, and walked out of the boutique as quickly as she could. Outside, curious shoppers stared as she passed, whispering among themselves. She disappeared into the crowd without looking back. Justice was being served, but there was still one thing left to do. With the officers removed and the saleswoman gone, the energy in the store shifted completely. The tension had lifted, and Marcus could finally do what he had come for. Buy a gift for his mother. Store manager Andrew Collins still looked visibly shaken by everything that had transpired. He straightened his tie and cleared his throat before speaking. "Mr. Jordan, I truly apologize. This should never have happened." Vanessa kept her gaze steady, saying nothing. But Marcus responded first. He looked at his mother, then back at the manager. "I just want to buy a present. For her. May I?" The manager nodded quickly. "Of course. In fact, I'd like to offer any piece you choose. On the house." A formal apology from the store. Marcus looked at his mother again, awaiting her reaction. Vanessa gave a faint side smile and gently shook her head. "My son can pay for his mother's gift." Without hesitation, Marcus placed his card on the counter. The manager seemed slightly taken aback, but didn't argue. He motioned to a new sales associate, a young woman with a kind demeanor, who stepped forward, unlocked the glass case, and began showing Marcus the rings. This time, no one watched him with suspicion. No one doubted him. He selected a small but elegant diamond ring, perfect in its simplicity, just right for his mom. Marcus smiled as he held it, finally feeling that the moment was his again. The new associate wrapped the piece with care, placing it in a sleek black box and handing it to him with a warm smile. As Marcus took the bag in his hands, he felt a quiet satisfaction settle over him. The mission was complete. Vanessa looked at her son, pride radiating from her eyes. "That gift is worth more than any diamond," she said. And together, mother and son walked out of the store, knowing this was far more than a purchase. It was a statement. Outside the shopping center, Marcus and Vanessa walked side by side, breathing in the fresh air after everything that had happened inside. Marcus clutched the boutique's bag with quiet resolve, the weight of the day still fresh on his shoulders. "What a day," he murmured, letting out a slow exhale. Vanessa gave him a soft smile, though her eyes remained serious. "Unfortunately," she said, glancing over at him, "some people still judge others before they know the truth." Marcus paused for a moment and looked at his mother. "But today was different. Today you turned the tables." Vanessa folded her arms and took a deep breath before responding. "Marcus, no one can take away your dignity unless you let them. Never lower your head to those who try to diminish you." Marcus nodded slowly, taking in every word. He smiled and handed her the small ring box. "Happy birthday, Mom. I hope you like it. It cost a little more than I expected." Vanessa looked at him, surprised. She took the box and opened it. Inside, the ring sparkled under the sunlight. Her eyes welled up with tears. "My son is extraordinary." She pulled Marcus into a tight hug. In that moment, nothing else mattered. Justice had been served, respect had been restored, and more than anything, Marcus knew he had the most incredible mother in the world standing beside him. In the end, justice prevailed. The officers who humiliated Marcus were removed from duty. The saleswoman who called the police was fired, and Marcus proved that no one gets to define who he is, except him. But now, let me ask you something. How many times has this happened to someone who didn't have a powerful mother to stand up for them? If you believe this story carries an important message, leave a comment below and share it with someone who needs to hear it. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more stories that make us think.